On the southern edge of ancient Portus, on an island located between Tyre and Fossa Traiana, there was a vast necropolis. Today, we know it as a complex of over 200 tombs, but in Roman times, it was only a fragment of a huge cemetery that developed along the Via Flavia, one of the main roads leading to the port city. From the end of the 1st to the 4th century AD, the space on both sides of the road was gradually filled with successive burials until the necropolis occupied every available piece of land. Brick tombs with austere but carefully designed architecture rose along the road. These were 1- or 2-story chambers, most often square in plan, sometimes surrounded by a small fence. Barrel vaults or flat terraces closed the structures, whose facades were enlivened by triangular tympanums and details made of light travertine. Although today they remain in ruins, they still reveal the ambitions and aspirations of their founders. The most valuable source of knowledge about the former inhabitants of Portus are the inscriptions on the facades of the tombs, the names of the owners, the dimensions of the tombs, and even detailed testamentary provisions regulating the right to burial were recorded in Latin and Greek. Thanks to them, a picture emerges of a community composed mainly of representatives of the middle class, merchants, freedmen, and small entrepreneurs, people who tied their lives to the port and trade. Next to the inscriptions are images. The bricks flanking the inscriptions depict scenes from the daily work of the deceased: a midwife assisting at childbirth, a surgeon leaning over a patient, a blacksmith in his workshop, or a grain merchant at the scales. These simple, realistic depictions belonging to the so-called folk art movement give the necropolis an unusual human dimension. Thanks to them, Portus ceases to be just a port on maps and becomes a city inhabited by real people performing specific professions. The poorest inhabitants of the city also found their place among the magnificent tombs. In the open spaces between the monumental buildings, modest burials were established: box graves, cappuccina-type graves with characteristic gabled tile roofs, burials in wooden coffins, amphorae, and sometimes simply in the ground. Their presence reminds us that the necropolis was a common space for all social classes in Portus. Forgotten for centuries, the necropolis was rediscovered in the 1920s and 1930s during archaeological research. Since then, it has become one of the most important sources of knowledge about the daily life of the ancient port.